Today, our hosts and their guests get you ready for what promises to be an eventful week in Washington. In addition to the growing scandal with the Epstein files, our panel discusses and debates several topics.
Well, I think it's never a losing bet to bet on the spinelessness of congressional Republicans. So I think we are going to see a lot more of the same. I do think we will see a little more defiance here and there. I think Marjorie Taylor Greene is an interesting case study. She's obviously separating herself from MAGA and for the president for now. But on the other hand, I think what we're also going to see is I think we're going to see more of the less extreme people, to the extent that there are any left in the Republican Party in Congress, decide they don't want to play anymore. They're going to announce that they aren't running for re-election. And I think the problem is going to be that they're faced between, a base that still is highly pro-MAGA, and the fact that the general election scenarios for them aren't going to be particularly great. And so I think you're just going to see a lot of Republicans kind of treading water, a little defiance here and there, but you're going to see a lot of people just say, we throw in the towel. And I don't think I don't expect too much from congressional Republicans. I mean, the two things that we should have learned by now over the last 7 or 8 years of Trump is that Trump, doesn't go away. He doesn't quit. And the Republicans have no spine.
Thank you so much for taking time. You must know that everybody is using you as a model around the country for how you succeed in a red state that Trump won. Talk to us a little bit about where you come from on that.
Oh, sure. I've won now 3 straight statewide elections. I won my last re-election by 5 points in a state that Donald Trump won by 30. Wow. And I think the explanation is people aren't as political as we think they are. That when they wake up in the morning, they're thinking not about the next election, they're thinking about their job and whether or not they can support their family. They're thinking about their next doctor's appointment, the roads and bridges they drive, the school they drop their kids off at, and whether they feel safe in their community. And so I spend 80% of my time on those things that matter to 100% of the American people. And just by focusing not on right or left, but how about forward? How about we do things that lift everybody up and not just Team A or Team B? I think that's how we've succeeded in Kentucky.
Also, you talked about this a little bit at the event I saw you at with Brian Tyler Cohen. You somehow have been able to handle issues that seem to have bedeviled Democrats in the last election. In fact, like you talked about, you didn't throw trans people under the bus. And you're in a very red state. I know you just vetoed some anti-LGBT and anti-choice legislation, and you're succeeding in Kentucky. Talk about the strategy for Democrats.
I think that as a Democrat or as somebody that runs for office to do something, you've always got to stand up for your convictions. And people can respect convictions even if they disagree with them, but you've got to show people the respect of not just explaining the what your position is, but the why you feel that way. So I'm running for re-election in 2023, and my Republican supermajority passes the nastiest, most restrictive anti-LGBTQ, anti-trans bill my state had ever seen. And I vetoed it because that was the right thing to do. And, honestly, some things are worth losing over. But when I explained my why, when I explained not just what I'd done, but why I'd done it, I talked about my authentic why, which is my faith. I believe that all children are children of God, and so I didn't want people picking on those kids. Mm-hmm. You know what? The next day, I was opening a factory, and I told you the story. A guy in a trucker hat makes a beeline towards me. And I thought, oh, my goodness, with that veto, I know what's coming. But he stuck his hand out, and he said, Governor, I'm not sure I agree with what you did yesterday, but I know you're doing what you think is right. And so just creating that grace and space for people to maybe think a little differently or to disagree with you on one thing, but agree with you on others that may impact their life daily or weekly or more acutely.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting you mentioned that the Supreme Court just did the right thing on marriage equality. Thank God, said, love is love. But this headline, Gov, Supreme Court extends block on full SNAP payments. that they're like, it's okay for the president to continue to starve people, even though the shutdown is going to be over. I don't understand it. Do you? It's just, it seems like the cruelty is always the point.
What we are seeing from this administration is the ultimate of cruelty. I mean, Donald Trump, who's trying to send, what, $30-40 billion to Argentina in the middle of a shutdown, says, oh, no, my lawyers say that I can't feed people. I can't continue SNAP, even though the USDA had on its website that he could, and every other president had during every other shutdown. So I sued him to compel him to pay those. We got an order that said he could do either partial or full, and they said, oh, well, we'll only do partial. And so I will say some of my Kentucky employees got what they needed from the federal government at 9 p.m. one night, and they came into work at 9. They worked until 3 a.m. so that Kentucky would be the first state that people at least had some of those benefits.
Yeah.
But then another court says to him, oh, no, you have the legal obligation to feed everybody that's on SNAP. You can do the full amount. And not only were they unwilling to do that, they actually went to court to stop it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and as you know, people that really need this, Gov, are, it's not clear how quickly full payments are going to resume. That's life or death for some people. If it takes weeks for their benefits to kick in. I mean, you posted, I was proud to join a multi-state effort to release these funds in full from the miracle of the fishes and the loaves. We're called to feed our people and take care of one another, and Kentucky will always lead with love. I mean, that's a powerful message.
Well, I mean, if you share my faith, the fishes and the loaves is one of the only miracles in all 4 books of the gospel, which means it's pretty darn important. Yet we see Republicans on Capitol Hill and the president doing everything they can to prevent food from getting to people. And you just the level of inhumanity of it, I think the American people are seeing. I mean, we had to push about $5 million of emergency funds to food banks. And we got people in line at those food banks that have never been to a food bank before, that are having to go in and say, we need help. And these are working folks.
Yeah.
These are people that are struggling to pay their electricity bill. Their health care is about to go up by so much because congressional Republicans won't extend the ACA tax credits that they may lose their health care. They can't afford the mortgage payment, and they're having to decide between all of this. And surely the one thing that we ought to be able to agree on as a country, Democrats, Republicans, independents, left, right, conservative, liberal, is that nobody should starve in a country where we grow enough food for everyone. Right.
Yeah. Well, and the whole ICE thing, welcome the stranger is one of, the biggest commandments. So, I love how, and certainly our Governor Newsom is doing it out here in California, Governor Pritzker's doing it, but you're doing it as well, where you're having to step into that giant void in leadership where, the president of the federal government should be. I mean, you let your people know about it. You said, good news, Kentucky, we won another challenge against the Trump administration, this time protecting the terms of grant funding from being unlawfully altered by the Department of Energy. You said, while we have progress to make, Kentucky scored as one of the better performing states in the nation in home affordability. Every person deserves to live out that American dream. We're working hard to ensure it's in reach for every Kentuckian. And meanwhile, the president's putting out ridiculous ideas like 50-year mortgages. Right? I mean, they're just not workable ideas, are they?
They're not. My job is to deliver for the people of Kentucky. That's what governors are supposed to do. That's what a president is supposed to do. Leading up to this administration, in Kentucky, we broke every record, from private sector investment to new jobs to wages to exports. We broke our tourism record 3 straight years. Drug overdose deaths are going down now 3 straight years. There's a lot of positivity in Kentucky. But what are we running into? We're running into this tariff policy, the worst economic policy of my lifetime, which is slowing growth significantly and making life harder for our families. We're about to face the ramifications of the big, ugly bill, which is going to decimate rural health care. Think about that rural hospital. It is the largest employer, or the second largest employer, but the largest payroll in every community it's in. If that closes, so does the local restaurant, coffee shop, and bank. Rural America is about to get punched in the face because of Donald Trump's signature bill.